You hear that term data-driven thrown around all the time, right? But what does it actually mean to build a company where data truly shapes every single decision? Well, I can tell you it's a whole lot more than just buying some fancy new software. Today, we're going to break down how you can build a genuine analytics-driven culture right from the ground up. So let's kick things off with a number that's, well, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. $284 billion. That's the projection for how much the world is going to spend on big data and business analytics every single year. Clearly, companies are betting big on the power of data. But is that bet actually paying off? And that leads us to the billion-dollar question, doesn't it? Does throwing all that money at the problem actually guarantee success? I mean, if you buy the best tools, do you automatically get the best insights? As a lot of businesses have learned the hard way, the answer is a big, resounding no. See, here's the thing. The technology, that's just a tool. It's like having the best hammer in the world, but not knowing how to build a house. The real barrier, the thing that stops these massive investments from paying off, is the human element. It all comes down to your company's culture. And that brings us perfectly to our first major pillar, tackling the culture challenge itself. Before you can build anything new and exciting, you've got to figure out how to work with the old walls of resistance that pop up with any big change. Okay, so if it's not the tech, then what is it? What's really holding companies back from making this leap? Well, the issues are deeply human, and believe it or not, they're often hiding in plain sight. When you start to dig into why people are resisting, you find it's almost always rooted in some pretty basic human stuff. A fear of the unknown, or just a simple lack of understanding. People naturally don't want to change the way they've always done things. They might worry it's a threat to their job, or maybe they just flat out don't trust the data. These are the real roadblocks you have to navigate. So how do you actually start breaking down those barriers? Well, you've got to start by explaining the why. Why is this change happening? How does it help everyone? Then you get people involved right from the beginning so they feel a sense of ownership. Of course, you have to give them the training they need to feel confident. And this is a big one. You celebrate the small wins along the way. That's how you build momentum and prove that all this effort is actually worth it.
So the key takeaway from this first part? It's simple. Your analytics journey doesn't begin when you buy the software. It begins the moment you decide to understand and address the human barriers to change. All right, let's move on to our second pillar. A cultural shift this huge can't just bubble up from the bottom. Nope. It has to be driven, visibly and with passion, straight from the top. Leadership has to set the tone.
It's a classic saying for a reason, Culture absolutely starts at the top. If you want a data-driven mindset to really take hold in your organization, your leaders have to be its biggest champions. Their actions will always, always speak louder than any memo.
And we're not talking about just passively supporting it either. Leaders have to actively champion a data-first way of thinking. That means investing in their people just as much as they invest in tools. It means they have to lead by example, being the first one in the meeting to ask, so what does the data say? They need to create a safe place for curiosity and even for failure, and make sure every single analytics project is tied directly to a clear business goal.
The takeaway here is crystal clear. Leadership's role isn't just about approving a budget. It's about being the most visible, the most vocal, and the most active champion of this new way of thinking. Okay, so you've got leadership on board and you're starting to work through that resistance. Now it's time for the next crucial pillar, empowerment. You can't just ask your team to be data-driven without giving them the skills they need to actually do it. It's time to upskill for insight. This slide really shows the core transformation we're talking about. The goal isn't to get rid of intuition. Your team's experience is invaluable. The goal is to enhance it. We're moving away from decisions based only on gut feelings and towards data-informed decisions where you blend that priceless experience with objective insights. This just makes your decisions more consistent, easier to defend, and way more adaptable. So how do you get your team there? It's all about practical training. Things like foundational courses on analytics concepts, hands-on workshops using your own company data. That's key. You've got to create dashboards and reports that are clear and easy to use. Maybe set up mentorship programs with your data experts, and really encourage everyone to tell a story with the data, not just dump a spreadsheet on a slide. Look, the bottom line is this. You could have the best data in the entire world, but it's totally useless if your people can't understand it or use it. A truly data-driven culture absolutely requires a data-literate workforce. And now for our final and honestly most critical pillar, trust. All of this hard work can completely fall apart if you fail to build trust. And that means you have to address the core concerns of your employees head on. Think about it. Whenever a big analytics initiative gets rolled out, two fears immediately pop into people's minds. The first one is a robot or an algorithm going to take my job? And the second one is, wait a minute, what are you doing with all this data? Is it safe? Are you using it ethically?
To deal with these fears, you absolutely have to be proactive. Be radically transparent about what you're doing and why. Frame analytics as a tool that makes people better at their jobs, not one that replaces them. You have to establish ironclad governance and privacy policies. And you've got to invest in reskilling your people to show them that everyone has a path forward in this new culture.
So the takeaway here is simple, but it is everything. Trust is non-negotiable. If you want genuine buy-in from your team, you have to address these concerns from the very beginning with total openness and honesty.
So there you have it, the 4 pillars of a real, working, analytics-driven culture. You challenge and overcome resistance, you drive the change with strong leadership, you empower your people with the right skills, and you build the entire thing on a solid foundation of trust. And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. When you look at your own organization, are you just buying tools? Or are you truly building a culture? Because honestly, the answer to that question will make all the difference.